So this is Dean Guedo. I'm one of the hosts of the Fitness Devil podcast. And funny story is that my computer didn't actually record the podcast we had with Chad Hargrove. So being the fact that it's Wednesday, our podcast released Thursday, and it's 10 p.m., and the podcast gets released in 2 hours, Andrew and I have to come up with something. So we figured some of you may not know us as well as you want to. Some of you may know us way too well. But one of the things is we touch on a few things in our podcast, and I thought today would be a good opportunity to kind of talk about us, talk about our year in summary. We've had a lot of crazy shit happen, and I'm just going to call Andrew, and we're going to do this thing. So I'm going to see if this works. I don't know if it's going to work. My phone's plugged in, and I'm going to hit call, and then we're going to try to do this off the cuff and see what happens.
Shut up and sit down.
And it should ring. Hell yeah, we got ringing.
Hey, brother.
Hey, brother. What I want to say is that you are live. I want to say live, but then live is weird because this is going to be recorded. But yeah,
so we're
man.
not live.
I kind of, yeah, it is. I hit record and I was like, I gave him this feel. I was like, I'm going to hit call. And I kind of told him like, I fucked up. Sort of. My computer fucked up, and that we are just going to do a podcast talking about kind of what's been going on and shit. Does that make sense?
Oh, that works great. Yeah, now how's my mic?
Your mic's coming in actually really good. It's not as good as if you were here, but my voice is going to sound better on this one, so if you can get over that.
No, that's fine. I mean, if you didn't fuck up with your hard drive, then we'd be okay. We wouldn't have to do this.
I know, and it is working. So for anyone who doesn't know, when we record the podcast, we do this little program, and these bars go up and down. This kind of say our voices are here and there, and I can see it's recording. And today it wasn't actually doing it, and it was recording and stopping, recording and stopping. And we're in the middle of this podcast, and I was like, it seems weird, but I don't know. Like maybe it's just my computer's slow. And Andrew could kind of see it. And then we were like an hour in, and you called me out. You're like, what's with that look on your face? Don't worry about it, man.
This look of like mild terror, and I'm like, of course. I figure, all right, something's not working. It's not recording. So we've wasted an hour of Chad's time. But
poor Chad.
So our buddy Chad Hargrove. So guys, if you are obviously we're not live, but we're recording. So you're hearing this. Our buddy Chad Hargrove is fantastic. He puts out all this great information on the social media. Go and follow him on Facebook or Chad Hargrove 1 on Instagram. So he's really, really super.
We'll have him on.
We're going to get him on the podcast soon. Yeah, we'll have him on.
So basically, we're going to talk about.
It's great.
Yeah, we talked about nutrition, his whole intro to training, and how he got into online training. We just basically talked about infographics, online coaching, and we're not going to talk about any of those. Well, we might talk about a little bit. we literally got it all out today. It was awesome, and then it'll never be heard except for in our brains.
And then we'll do it all over again and be like, fuck, this isn't as good as the original. So.
No, it's exactly what's going to happen. We're going to literally, it's going to be weird and fumbly because we have to have new questions on. Well, no.
Nah.
No, it's same questions to see if we can read. I got like 15 minutes of that one. I'm totally not going to release it.
Nah. So what we're going to do is we're going to go over just kind of a bit of a year in review. Like we spend all our time talking with our guests, and it doesn't always leave us more than just little pockets to allude to various things about our careers or what's been going on this year. So anyone who's listened to all of the episodes has probably pieced in some things, or anyone knows us personally knows a bit more. So I guess we can start with the fact that in late December last year, I left a company that I used to work for 6 years due to some problems that I grew tired of, and I was no longer able to deal with some of the circumstances I was dealing with. And I decided I was going to go private. So the owner of Evolve Strength in Edmonton, John Chung, and we'll get him on here later on. He's great. Yeah. He'd approached me, a year prior to that, hoping that I would come over. So I said, no, I've got a good setup, but I really appreciate the offer, and he left it open. So one day I went over and sat down with him because I was a little frustrated with some shit, and
we won't talk about that.
No, we will, actually. I was suspended
yes.
I was suspended for something I didn't do. I was accused of something that was later essentially shown what was really going on, and there weren't necessarily any real formal apologies, but a lot of stuff. The manager got fired. He got removed because he was sexually harassing staff and members, and some of the coworkers were problems, and they were lying, and another guy got demoted, another girl got banned from the club, and a lot of crazy shit. I'll leave it at that. So
it's a shitstorm, basically. Basically, they're like, and like the way you explained it to me, like basically a bunch of shit hit the fan, and like you weren't perfectly happy, but you kind of saw some things, but then just
I was tired of inappropriate behavior by coworkers. I was tired of unprofessional things. I was tired of inappropriate sexual behavior and commentary coming from all sorts of things, and just like it was just really pervasively problematic. And unfortunately, you see this stuff in commercial gyms. I was talking to two friends of mine tonight who work at a completely different company in a different gym, and the bullshit going on in there. You got kids working there, smoking pot on shift, and
what?
Oh God, yes, and all kinds of other stupid crap. So like, sometimes these environments aren't bad, but I don't want to paint all these gyms in a bad light, because there's a lot of really great ones and a lot of really caring, passionate people. Just so happens I got fed up with it. I turned around and decided, all right, I'm going to go work for myself. I'm going to contract. I paid a small amount of rent every month to get to be at Evolve Strength, and I work in an environment with a lot of really professional, like-minded people who do their own thing. And it's not devoid of, it's literally imperfections, but honestly, it's pretty fucking amazing. So it's been a really...
I was gonna say, I would explain to people, because like, again, not everyone's from Edmonton, but like, what is Evolve? Because like that's probably one of the biggest selling points of your move, was the fact that Evolve is what it is, which is, what is it? It's,
I'd like to think it's pretty much one of the premier athletic facilities in Edmonton. It's a powerlifting gym, an Olympic weightlifting gym, and very, very conducive to general population training. 10,000 square feet of open floor space with platforms upon platforms. There's about 30 different places you could actually squat from in racks. There's open turf. I think there's 20 meters of turf lengthwise. And there are physiotherapists and massage therapists and other people in the offices who are all private business owners, and about just shy of 20 independent trainers that work in the facility. So it's fantastic.
And Andrew's the biggest one. You are.
Physically largest.
Absolutely.
Shane Martin's a big boy, although I'm taller. He's got a way better bench press and squat and everything than me. He's a big dude. Nick Polyuk's taller than me too, although I weigh more. So
okay.
But yeah, so there's a few big people. But I might be the busiest person in there. I'm the one who does the most sessions, but some of them have other things that they do with their time.
And for other people who don't know Andrew, which he may tell you, because he likes to tell you, but like he works so many sessions in a month. Like it's like 40 plus, which is, I don't know if anyone who's used to training or being anything physical is like, that's a lot of time invested.
A month. This year I actually average 125 per month. So that's actually technically under 40 hours a week of actual training. But if you figure cancellations, all the other stuff that goes into
it's nuts though. Like,
for a trainer's life, it's still pretty nuts.
Like I taught for a living before this, and like, I guess you could call it 40 hours a week, and it was probably like 50, 60 when you tie in coaching and volunteer work and all that stuff. And I was not like, and now that switching into training, I was not near as tired and mentally drained as I am training, because like training, you're all in for that hour. It's not like a little bit here, hand some stuff out to kids, teach here when you like, not when you want to, but it was less dynamic mentally and physically than it was training. So that's freaking impressive.
And I don't sit down. I actually refuse.
No, you pace.
Yes, I know trainers who do sit. I hate seeing trainers sit. I think here's a really, really big thing. If we've got any trainers listening to this or any potential clients, if you see a trainer in a commercial gym or anywhere they're sitting down, it can send a signal that this is someone who is lazy or unprofessional. It doesn't necessarily mean that they are. No. However, as a trainer, you have all eyes on you in a facility. So it is wise to avoid doing things that appear to potentially, or in the eyes of some, could be unprofessional. Like, for example, having your phone out or using it for anything, because the phone looks like you're texting. Another thing is, do not turn your back to your clients. Don't take your eyes off them while they're doing sets and reps. Don't turn and talk to the attractive young woman that's nearby while your client is performing something, especially if you completely turn your posture away. people may not realize that is your other client or another trainer in there or a member that you're being really nice to, but the eyes on you think that you're flirting with that girl. So, and I would see tons of this kind of shit in the past, and like more than, trainers sleeping with clients was a particularly problematic behavior that I have no time for whatsoever, and that was happening.
Well, and
so,
even all these things, well, I got kind of pointed to it somewhat from your Facebook post before I was kind of in it, and now I'm almost at the point where I like look at other people's Instagram videos and I'll see shit like that, and like I think I texted you that one day. I'm like, did you see this? Whole different story. There was a context behind it, but it's that whole what's visual and what people see is usually their first impression or an impression that could go unchanged. So like looking like you're on your cell phone, you could be looking at a timer, but to them you're on Facebook or texting or whatever, right? So it comes off
exactly
poorly.
And it's perception. And I mean, most of the fitness professionals we know aren't as busy as they want to be. They're not. So, and this is something I've always said to young trainers I've mentored or who were, at the old club or whatever. It doesn't matter what you're actually doing. What matters is what people perceive that you're doing. And there's just so many of these behaviors, but this is another, this is a rabbit hole. And
yeah, what were we talking about?
We're talking about my switch to Evolve. So let's summarize it.
So this doesn't happen at Evolve ever, because Andrew works there and he's tirelessly policing it, and they know.
No, I don't.
I'm
don't
joking.
Police shit in there.
Joking.
No, I don't police shit in there. They can do whatever the fuck they want. We're not wearing the same uniform, not the same business. I get along great with them all. They're my competitors.
I'll argue this though, because Andrew, you tired, like you're kind of famous for like calling shit out. Is that they know you work there, and people know what you're doing. I guarantee that some of your rants have come off a little bit, and if they see you, they won't be the ones who get caught doing it. Does that make sense? You've influenced it a little bit locally, I think.
That's very, very true. I've definitely influenced in a very big way locally for the people who already have that passion or professionalism ingrained, and they're just a little bit more on their toes. But the people who don't give a shit, they dismiss it, right?
Yeah,
the kid that I know who slept with like 10 of his clients, no amount of this kind of shit is ever going to change that kind of behavior. It's not. So these people don't give a shit, and I just hope that clients can see the difference, and they're smart about who they choose as their professionals, because you paying commercial gym trainers are fucking expensive. I actually slightly reduced my rates, and I make more per hour just by coming over to Evolve. So we've had a year of a fantastic year. My clientele, I basically honored all my commitments with the old company, and I didn't leave any clients in a position where they were stuck having to go with another trainer, because there were no other trainers in that facility who were like me or my skill set, or my clients wouldn't have really been happy but assigned to someone else. So I just left them in a situation where I honored everything, had the integrity to honor that. Some people might complain, oh, you stole your clients, you took your clients. Well, first of all, their relationships I built over the years, they were largely all my referrals. I was completely independent. I never took sales from the company. And then I left with not leaving the company with a whole bunch of pissed off clients. And they were free to choose as they want to do. And we all knew what they were going to do. They're all going to come anyway. And they all did.
Yeah.
So, I had a great start to the year, and it built up, and I gained tons of new referral business. And we had a really super successful first year doing this. I'm excited for year 2. And it's given me a ton of freedom to do a lot more. I can run boot camps, and I have the space to do it. And just let people pay whatever they, the certain rate that I'm charging. Whereas, the old thing, there was a system.
Yeah.
And I could have one of my clients, one of my good buddies, I could do distance coaching with him. He's in town once in a while. He can drop in. He doesn't have to have a membership. He can buy a single session from me. Really easy, no hassle. And there's no headache. And the fact that there's no membership, $50 a month, no contract, which is fucking super amazing. You don't have these complex set of appointments that you have to go through for new members to the general manager. I just love the system so much more. And I actually encourage other trainers, develop the skill set to be independent and get out in this kind of environment and just get away from the big box gyms once you've had the experience. I mean, it's a good place to start and learn, but they're not the way of the future in this business anymore.
Well, especially because like you say, you talk about the processes, and like your buddy's going to have to go do a sales pitch and get pressured to buy sessions and all that stuff. And you can cut out the middleman and run your business how you want. You could still do that if you wanted to on your own. Like it would be weird and inauthentic, but I think that going out on your own gives you that freedom to kind of run your business the way you want to run it. And ideally it's going to benefit the end user at the end of the day.
Absolutely. And there's tons of trainers who have very different business models than what I do, because mine still is sort of similar to the way I learned it, but because it works for me. But there's other people who do totally different things, and having that freedom is great. So now you might as well give people a rundown, because like I'm on my 8th year now. I've been doing this 7 years.
Yeah.
You just started this shit this year for all intents and purposes.
Yeah, and I guess we talked about this on Shane's podcast, but it's just that whole idea of I don't want to say I didn't go out trying to be a trainer, because I always loved training. I went to university for recreation phys ed, and I always thought I was going to be a trainer. And then I guess the back step a little bit, I was playing university football, so I'm a pretty high level athlete. When I'm competing, I'm working out, I'm doing all these things. I love sports. I love working out. And then so to continue, weird story. So to continue playing football, like I'm done university at this time. Like I had an injury, so I had 4 years plus a free extra year because of my injury. So I have 2 years left of eligibility, and I have nowhere. Well, I like the school life. I liked learning. I liked playing football. I wanted to continue playing football because at that point I was still able to be drafted. So I was ranked one of the top 50 players to be drafted. So that kind of lit a fire under my ass to kind of, continue playing. So I guess I'm staying in school. What better way to stay in school than to become a teacher? It's one of those things where I liked coaching. I like coaching football, so I like teaching people how to get from point A to point B, and they'll find something better in their life because of me, or they'll learn something because of me. So it was a natural progression to that. So basically, I went to school to become a teacher. I played football to go pro. When plan A to be a pro football player went out the window with a knee injury, a poor season, and a hip surgery to kind of end the whole shebang, I was beaten, broken, and right into the teaching world. Man? And
so look at how far-reaching your career promises to be. It already has, but it's still in its infancy in the grand scheme of things. How much of an impact you'll have. And let's say you had a 3-4 year or CFL career. Fuck NFL, you would have made some money, but CFL career. And that's great. Our friend Jeff Hecht is a very successful CFL player with a Grey Cup ring, and what is he? Jeff's like 31 or 32 now, and he's still playing. And we'll bring him on the show eventually because he's a really smart guy.
We'll try to get him to be a trainer.
Exactly, and he's going to transition this well. But I mean, how many of these guys did that, and that was their whole identity? And
I think the one thing for me, even if I continue this story, is that I want to say football was my identity for so long, but there was somewhere near the end of my career when I was coming back from my knee injury, is that so anyways, I was out for a whole season because I had a tumor on my knee. I had to have knee surgery. Long story short is I came back and I have 2 years left. So I'm kind of at the tail end of my career, and there's a bunch of young guys coming up. So I had to fight for my position to get back. I haven't played football for a year, and it was kind of in that process of earning my job back that I realized that I didn't not love football. I think it was my last year. Anyways, it wasn't that I didn't love football and it wasn't my identity. I just loved competition. I loved competing. I loved being the best. And I actually had a moment where I was in the middle of practice and I came back. I knew I earned my starting position back, and I had this just great day. And I literally remember sitting there. I'm like, I don't care if I play football another day in my life. I'm just happy I was able to overcome this injury and prove to everyone that I wasn't fucking done. And it kind of changed my trajectory because at that point I was already not going to get drafted. I was playing football to end it on my terms. And I started not caring if I played football or not, weirdly enough. So my identity was never tied into football. It was tied into myself being better or best or proving people wrong, which is positive and negative at the same time. But it's served me well, I would say.
It's got you where you are right now.
Yeah. And yeah. Well,
which is L2 and being a coach over at L2.
Yeah, and so basically I taught for 4 years. So just to skip over my teaching career, I taught for 4 years. I kind of had some contract shit at the end come up, which just forced me to make a decision on which way I wanted to go. And because I was involved with certain people, I knew I needed to be training and coaching because I just liked it more than teaching. And to me, I thought it was teaching anyways. So the second I had an opportunity to kind of transition out, I just went back into the sub pool, taught, met L2, which I'll kind of breeze over. And then I trained and taught, and then I trained more than I taught, and then I dropped teaching altogether because I just was doing so well, so fast. And that's kind of where my story, the training starts, which wasn't that far away. I think that was February, March this year. Jesus, we're not even in the new year. So like I've literally been training 8 months, and a lot of the skills I had before kind of just transferred right over, and I just hit the ground running when I met Laura and Landon.
Well, anyone who interacts with you would think that you're someone who's been in the business for years with the skill set, knowledge, and the way you approach this. Now, you've also been very fortunate in that you very quickly surrounded yourself with a lot of really smart, very capable people. Like, again, Landon, Laura, and Anthony Harder at L2. And then, you got other people like Jordan Jeske around you. And then obviously this whole podcast is networked with you with a lot more of people, a lot of my friends and people who've been doing really well. And it's just going to explode.
Well, and
you, at your 7-year mark, are going to be so far ahead where I am.
And one of the
right
weird
now.
things is like, so for those of you who don't know what L2 is a gym fitness facility owned by Landon and Laura. They're just L2, but they opened up this huge facility. Like, I think it's huge, brand new gym. And then we kind of built that new gym together. But like I said, I connected myself with the right people right off the get go. And I kind of breezed over the fact, I don't even think I talked about powerlifting, but like I was a competitive powerlifter for those 4 years I was teaching, and I won like 4 national championships. And like, I got really deep in that world. I was part of the 1020 Life team with Brian Carroll. So I was already connected with people that were kind of industry leaders in certain areas. So I felt like I was already doing it. I was already coaching powerlifting. I was part of powerlifting teams. I was already coaching and teaching and writing articles. I was already knees deep in fitness, in terms of a very specific fitness niche, but I was doing it constantly and putting out content and information and doing logs and all that as being part of a sponsored lifter. And it was such an easy transition because all I had to do was take all that stuff I learned to be the best in one sport and apply the coaching methodology and the teaching practices I had as an educator and just combine the two and just hit the ground running as a trainer. Like, it literally took me 1 month, and I felt like I just knew that I was meant to do this essentially. And it was much easier to live life when I was doing something I liked and getting paid for it. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And I don't think anyone who's never worked in the industry can quite understand what it's like. Some of the hours we have to keep because we're related to a lot of evenings.
Well, and a lot of people have a bad, I don't want to say attitude about, well, it's a bad attitude about it because they'll get in the training and they won't make as much money as they thought they're going to make. They're going to think that training is going to lead to this huge industry leading job where you're coaching celebrities and professional athletes and you're getting millions of dollars. And it's not that you can't get there, but it's a career that you have to invest time in. You have to look at your options, and you have to look at it as more than a day-to-day, hour-for-hour training job. And you have to see and expand your reach and do a lot of other things to make it that. And I think I saw that right off the get-go just from the people I've been involved with and my outlook on business and the bigger picture thinking. But a lot of people get into it thinking that they're just going to be millionaires or whatever. They're just going to be busy with clients, and that ain't how it fucking works. And maybe I was old enough, like you started when you were in your early 30s, and I started when I was almost 30. So I was old enough to realize that the world ain't fucking easy. You know what I mean?
No.
And so that made it easy at the beginning.
You got lucky because you're starting at a much, much tougher time. The industry is a lot more saturated now. There's way more trainers. When I started, there was really, outside of a few very, very established people, there was no such thing popularized as online coaching. That didn't exist.
Yeah, and that's true.
You had there were far less commercial gyms. There were virtually no boutiques, or very, very few studios. They just had every second fucking place around the corner. We don't CrossFit boxes; those didn't exist. Every second place around the corner didn't have a private training studio with a bunch of trainers. Some guy like calling. What is my computer doing? It's making noise. Hang on, we got to turn this shit off.
It ain't my computer this time.
No,
I'm recording you, so it's all good.
My computer literally just decided to start playing an episode of The Expanse, so that's what I've been watching lately. Not that I watch much.
Were you watching TV while doing this podcast, man?
No, it was like literally the screen is turned sideways, and all of a sudden it just started itself. It makes no sense.
But even so, but you're right though. Like, the world has changed, and we live in Edmonton, so I guess the trends are going to be a little different than some other areas. But like we're pretty fitnessy town. Like, we got a lot of aesthetic models, and we got big powerlifters, and like there's people doing shit here, and the landscape has changed drastically, even within the last 2 or 3 years, with a lot of these private gyms popping up and things like Evolve.
I've heard this. I can't substantiate this with like a study, but I've heard that there's more trainers in Edmonton per capita than I don't know if it's like anywhere other city in North America, which makes sense given the fact that
we have a trade school that teaches it.
Yeah, Edmonton for the last at least decade plus, and Alberta in general is one of the most economically prosperous
that makes sense.
Places in North America. So you're going to have more disposable income, which makes sense that you would see that. We have a thriving fitness community. It has different corners, and we've produced some semi-famous douchebags. The douchier ones tend to get the more broad street appeal. There's that Muppet that curls his cat and does
what
YouTube or. You didn't hear about this?
Oh, no, yeah, he did. He was a good-looking dude with muscles and liked to work out, and then he just started, in Instagram infancy, just started taking pictures with his cat and blew up, because it was super easy to blow up back then. But he got muscles, he looks half decent, and he's got a cat, and just fucking nuts.
He looks like a slightly older Justin Bieber. Now, of course, someone's going to be like, oh, you're hating us. No.
No, man. He's had no shirt off at a cat. That's perfectly normal to make fun of, regardless of whether it's real or not. That's the first thing I would make fun of.
He's very good. And then we have this local piss-drinking imbecile running around talking about all kinds of insane extremist nutrition. And
I'm 120,000 likes on his page.
I'm not even going to draw people's attention to it. Yeah, I'm not going to say that name because he gets a little nuts about stuff. But there's some issues there. So, yeah, we have our charlatans. And everybody was like, oh, these people are doing better. No. I have lots of famous industry friends who are doing extremely well, who have integrity and I respect. So, no, it has nothing to do with that.
Where are we going with this?
we're just bullshitting. Everybody else is just along for the ride on this one. We were just talking about you at L2 and how, I love the facility. I love going over there when I can.
Again, so I'm very fortunate.
A lot of our friends work out there.
Yeah, I've just been fortunate. So I linked up with Anthony and Jeremy, who's at Evolve, and basically Anthony and I, we just moved over to L2 Fitness because we were doing a bunch of athletic business stuff together, and now we're two peas in a pod. We're never separated, and we kind of have just moved towards all the things we're doing together. He's mentored me, and then Laura Lanevan mentored me, and then they built this nice fancy facility. I got it fucking easy, but I just had good friends, so it was really easy for me to connect to get in.
Well, not just anybody could do that either. You got to approach it with intelligence and maturity and professionalism. And you actually have to have a skill set on top of that also. Those guys are super picky about who they hire. I mean, they are theoretically looking for more people, but they're not in a rush to do that. And some kid who walks in with CanFit Pro, and again, I'm a CanFit Pro trainer. That's a piece of paper that lets me do this. I wouldn't learn everything on my own.
Yeah.
But some kid coming in with a passion for fitness and just CanFit Pro isn't going to get very far.
It's just when you have, and again, Evolve's a little bit of a different model, but people think you go get training at a World Health. There's trainers there, but at our gym, we're private and we have a very nice facility. And I want to feel like when people come there, they expect a little bit better than just rookie. Not that a rookie can't do it well, but when they're paying more money to do training than they would at a big box gym, where they would generally think they go, there's a little bit higher expectation. And with that, we just have to have the best people, because the community we're trying to build is that we really want to be high end. We want to offer the best service. We want to be better than everyone in what we offer. And to be part of that, we just need the right people. And that's not going to be everyone. And unfortunately, not many people fit that mold, and they're just really stingent on it. But we also all have to work together, and that whole identity relies on the fact that our team is fucking unreal, and we can't have one bad apple, I guess you could say.
And you can't bang heads directly with the Good Lives and the LA Fitnesses and the World Health of the city.
No.
And, so you guys take a different route. Both of our gyms are very much, the boutique sort of thing. And while there are definitely some similarities, there are two very different business models and two different setups. But, I think it's the way of the future. And I think, again, if there's any trainers listening,
I think both are the way of the future.
Yeah. I think that it's wise to have a plan in mind to go out and build your own business, your own identity. In fact, if you're working for a commercial gym, you should very much be treating it like it's your own business, personally branding yourself, being very self-sufficient, so that way you can pivot should you need to. You are still vulnerable to your employer, and despite my reputation, now I was lucky enough I was able to leave on my own terms, but due to some of the chaos I was dealing with, my job was endangered, and I had dealt with there's some people who kept making up things because they were upset with me because A, I was doing quite well, but B, I stood in the way of their multi-level marketing pyramid scheme behavior. This is the origin of it all. This is the whole thing. And I detest that crap. I can't stand to see it. these type of people, they don't tend to have a lot of morals or ethics when it comes to this, and they use places like commercial gyms to network and try to recruit people to sell for them, so that way they have people under them who are making money for them. And they love commercial gyms because you have a lot of young, eager-minded people, and they have clients and friends who can be easily recruited or brainwashed into this particular type of cult or cult mindset. And I watched it take over a facility and ruin it and make it a really intolerable place, only to watch most of it get purged. Some of it was left undealt with. Like any infection that you don't completely eradicate, it comes back. And I find that people involved with pyramid schemes, they're very much like a virus. They're awful to deal with. And the more
I think anyone can relate to that. And even if you, again, I'm sure this happens in every. Are we going to go down the pyramid scheme rabbit hole?
Well, we already sort of are.
Okay. So like anyone can resonate with that, though. Like if anyone asks you to go out for coffee, that's like mutual, like not that great of a friend or acquaintance, you're about to get pitched on how to make your life better and how to become an entrepreneur. Easily. Yeah. It's happening.
And if anybody's listening to this who is involved in this multi-level marketing shit, which I would be surprised considering that anyone who knows me knows I hate the crap and they don't like me very much. You know what? And maybe you need to rethink this stuff, or maybe you need a good offending or whatever, because I mean, the statistics on people who actually do well with these pyramid schemes are very, very poor. Herbalife is one of the worst.
Oh man. But
there are plenty of other ones. And I just, you know what? If you're going to go do this shit, fine, go do it. I mean, like I got a couple people on my Facebook right now who are all of a sudden, they have no credibility in it, no experience in this industry, and they're both selling MLM shit, weight loss supplements. One is doing this keto coffee shit.
Is that a pyramid scheme too?
Oh yeah. Well, it's a piece within the big granddaddy. I'm not going to say it. Dad gets mad at me when I call out this one particular awful company that we have a lot of problems with. He'll get pissed at me for it. So I'm going to try not to piss my dad off too much. He's a great guy. Sorry, but yeah, so it's peddling this garbage, and you know, it's the same shit that you and I talk about a lot. It's perpetuating these false ideas of what works and what doesn't. No supplement whatsoever is going to help you with weight loss. You have to change lifestyle. You have to change your nutrition. Being more active is very, very helpful. I'll probably write a piece actually on this. I've kind of got one half prepared that kind of dabbles on this.
Diet or mid-level marketing?
Well, the whole thing about these weight loss supplements and yeah, MLM.
Honestly, it ends up being most of them, because any of the ones that push their bias is usually the mid-level marketing ones, like the cleanse and the isogenics. It's isogenics, right? That's pyramid.
There's a guy I like a lot who is right now, all of a sudden he's selling isogenics, and I'm just like facepalm. I'm like, I really like this guy, so
like
I won't mess with it, whatever. But
powder for fucking. Oh my God.
It's like, oh man, but you know what? Again, like they're really good people, and I'm torn because like I really want to support people I believe are really awesome. People are trying. It's just that sometimes the outlet or avenue is not what I consider to be moral.
And I truly think like a lot of them get weaseled into it, because like that's the whole point of mid-level marketing is like, I'm going to teach you how to be successful. And they're like, oh yeah. And like, they don't actually know, like they just get, I'm not going to call them all suckers, but some people know what they're doing, but the people that know what they're doing are the ones that are making lots of money. Everyone else is fucking doing it for 2 months and then they're done.
Yeah. I mean, I remember, and I'm actually going to write, this will be in my thing I'm going to write, but back when Body by Visalis was a booming thing, when they're giving out the BMWs and all that, everybody remember that bullshit? Yeah, this fucking garbage supplement or shakes that they were peddling. And I remember two very successful fitness competitors, bodybuilder types, whatever, all of a sudden they were selling it out of nowhere and making claims, like explicitly saying, this is how I built my body. This is what I used to get my physique. One of the two was on a lot of steroids straight up. So that's bullshit. And the other one was a girl who, I mean, she trained for years and she was in great shape, great genetics. And again, claims, oh no, this is what I was using. I knew for a fact that they both just started peddling this garbage. And quite quickly it disappeared and they just went about their business like it never happened. Clearly, it never worked out very well, but these are the kind of lies that people will perpetuate. But again, how is that any different from Mr. Olympia saying, muscle tech is all you need, bro? Meanwhile,
it's like, man, does anyone actually believe that? Actually, you know what? They do because they fucking buy it.
We believed that because we read the bodybuilding magazines. We bought.
I don't know if I ever did though believe that shit. Like, you know what? That's not true.
Did you ever buy BCAAs?
I did. Yeah. So you know what? I definitely did.
Yeah. Did you buy like?
You know what? The biggest one was I shouldn't like say I didn't believe it. So I bought Nitrix was the biggest one that I realized. You know, it was right around Nitrix where I realized that it was full of shit because it worked, but it was those ones. You know what Nitrix was?
Is that the ones that actually had M1Ts?
No. It was just L-arginine. So basically, it was L-arginine in capsule form. So you can imagine the amount you needed. You needed to take 14 caps per serving, and they were bigger than like 2 multivitamins. Anyways, these pill boxes would come in 360 tabs ones, and they would basically it's L-arginine. So you were just basically taking straight L-arginine before they started pumping it and everything, and you would get like a vacillator, so you have to get pumps. It was fucking sweet, and I loved it, but I was also like 17, 18 years old, and I remember like referring to that like 2 years afterwards. I'm like, man, I'm so fucking stupid, and I'm just gonna buy protein, and I think it was Super Pump, but it was pre-workout. But so I definitely bought it thinking that I was getting huge pumps.
The only things I buy now are whey protein powder and creatine monohydrate because they're largely the only things that work. So again, here's a lesson, here's a takeaway. Don't buy multi-level marketing shit, especially if your friends all of a sudden are selling it online and those people aren't experienced, credible trainers or someone with a very high-level education in nutrition or human physiology.
They don't usually
people like that. People like that very, very, very rarely start selling this crap. So
no, because they don't want to burn through their social equity. So even if you look at mid-level marketing, you're kind of new and blah 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 blah.
Multi-level marketing.
Well, sorry,
multi-level marketing.
Is there a difference? I thought it was mid-level.
Yes.
What's mid-level?
I've never heard of it. I've never heard of that before. Multi-level marketing, MLM. So.
Regardless, I think actually mid-level marketing is well. Anyways, what people don't know is you have to burn through your social capital of all your friends to actually make a deal or sale or get someone under you. And so essentially you got to, if you're wanting to do that shit, which I hope you're not, you wouldn't listen to this anyways, is that you have to call everyone in your Rolodex and your mom and your dad and your brother, and you're going to try to get them hooked on this shit. And like, did you really want to do that?
Your friends and family are going to hate you, and here's the thing.
No one is going to like you. They're all going to hate you.
Here's what I've noticed. I am acquainted with a half a dozen people who are extraordinarily successful with pyramid schemes. The thing they all have in common is they generally have a soulless, almost sociopathic attitude towards life and other people. And I've observed some of this stuff pretty closely, and it's pretty ugly shit. So if that's the road you want to take, you better be prepared to sell your soul to it. And quite frankly, the route we've taken for career success and integrity is a lot more fun.
Feels way better.
You have more friends this way.
Yeah, I think that's exactly it. You have more friends because, again, to do that, you literally have to think of people as objects or a means to an end, which is insane. Well, it's not insane, but it's kind of sociopathic a little bit. A little bit.
I think so.
Yeah.
At least to be successful at it, right?
To be successful
at it. There's a very strong correlation there if you want to look at the data.
Is there data on sociopaths?
I don't know. There actually is data on sociopaths and their prevalence in certain professions. For example, CEOs, surgeons, a handful of other things have a higher percentage of sociopaths than the general population.
Yeah.
Because the myth is, I'm not going to defend sociopaths here, but if you read a book by Brett Bartholomew, who's a really amazing coach, it's called Conscious Coaching.
That's what it was in. I knew I read it somewhere.
Yeah. And so I got a signed copy. Brett was amazing, actually, when I met him down in Seattle. It actually talks about the dark triad of personality traits. So if someone's not familiar with it, it's Machiavellianism, sociopathy, and narcissism. And while, yes, they have negative connotations, in certain ways, these traits we all have varying degrees of these traits. It doesn't mean that everybody is a narcissist or a sociopath. It's just that sometimes these traits can actually have positive outcomes if they're not done in extreme ways. So, and Brett actually talks about this in his book, how some of these talents can be useful in coaching when dealing with high level athletes in his particular case. So in some cases, you have functioning sociopaths who are highly successful surgeons, highly successful CEOs, and they're generally otherwise benevolent in society. They're not all killing people or walking around in suits made of human skin or any of this crazy shit, like a Jeffrey Dahmer type. There are actually sociopaths in our society who are causing
it's
no
like
harm.
narcissism, for example. Like again, you can be a narcissist, everyone fucking hates you, but if you believe you're the best and you become successful because you're willing to do what it takes, and you're like, I'm the fucking man, I only care about this, and this, they end up being super successful, and that ends up being a positive quality because they've able to achieve certain things that allow to help people because they have that certain narcissism about them.
They lack the self-doubt
Yeah.
to apply themselves to certain situations
And not
commit
try.
to a course of action that in many cases has a very successful outcome. And I could see that being a very, very valuable quality in a surgeon. This is an interesting topic of conversation. And of course, everybody who's listening is like, what the fuck are they talking
honestly,
about?
I'm looking at the time right now and like we're at 40 minutes, which is sick. I think we should talk about how we even got to this podcast because we're like, or are we 12 or 13 episodes? I don't even know. Like
this will be 14.
This is 14?
Mark
Mark
Fisher was 13. Yeah.
And I'm not editing
14.
this tonight. I'm literally just going to put the intro music on and slap it up. I don't even know if I'm going to do intro music. Maybe I will. I like it.
No, you're going to put intro music on it.
Okay.
That's what's going to happen.
So
you'll be fine.
Okay, I like the intro music.
So, Dean one day sent me a message, and Dean and I knew each other, but we weren't all that closely acquainted. We hadn't known each other all that long. And, we got along great. But, he sent me a message and said, hey, man, how would you feel about doing a podcast? And I'm like, what do you mean, like an episode or like an actual podcast? He's like, no, an actual podcast. I'm like, yeah, actually, I listen to tons of them. I always imagine the idea. Now, I don't possess the tech skills. Dean is the tech guy on this one. And so he suggested, I'm like, absolutely.
Well, even if we backtrack, I would even backtrack a little bit further than that. I guess because I want to say it was my idea. I would say that it was my idea to put us together. But essentially, Andrew and I, like you said, I think we met a few times. At Evolve.
It
was as Evolve. I think we actually talked via Facebook. The community here is pretty close in terms of people that run in the same circles. And I knew a lot of people that knew you, blah, 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 blah. And I think we talked about podcasts and weirdly enough. And then we met at Evolve and it was because I was doing that keto experiment. So I'm not a keto, what do you call it? Zealot. But I wanted to try it in terms of applying that with powerlifting. I was in the off season and I wanted to see if certain things worked. And you know what? It worked fine, as good as any other diet. It was easy to follow, but it caught Andrew's attention because I was kind of logging this whole journey and it was working. And he's just like, hey, you did the keto thing. Like, let's talk about it. I think it was like literally like that. And we spent like 10 minutes talking. Then you did a set and I did a set. And then we came right back. And then you're like, I don't mean to like hold you up, but like we keep talking. And I think we just like shot the shit about stuff. And then it just became friendship through that every once in a while. And Facebook, hey, did you see this podcast? Hey, did you see this podcast? If you haven't learned, Andrew is a very copious consumer of podcasts and books. So thus he becomes a very deep pool of knowledge for me. But he was always like pointing me in directions of things to look at. And then I'm listening to the podcast, not ones you recommended at that point, but I was driving to BC and I'm listening and listening and listening. I'm like trying to figure out ways to expand my business and do things where I'm giving people information. And I was listening. I'm like, I could fucking do this. Like, this isn't that hard. You just get people on your podcast and you talk to them. Like, I already talked to my friends and guys like you. We're talking about shit. Like, it's kind of valuable. It can be to the certain people. And I was like, I could fucking do this. Who would do this with me? Because I totally didn't want to do it myself. I just didn't want to do it myself because I have tons of shit in the go. I'm starting this business. We're training and doing this, this, and this. And I was like, Andrew will do it because anyone who doesn't know Andrew, I wouldn't say you're a YouTube sensation, but like locally, he puts a few videos. No. He started putting up videos.
Barely anybody watched those videos.
Man, there was
I wasn't even consistent with them, but
there was like 1,000 on the one. Anyways, long story short is Andrew went on normal Andrew rants on YouTube. And I was like, this dude will do a podcast and he'll do well at it because he's a very smart guy that's deep in this industry. And so I called him and I basically was like, hey, Andrew, I think I messaged you while I was pulled over on the highway because I wasn't texting and driving. And I was like, hey, do you ever think about doing a podcast? You're like, you should call me. And I called you. Like, no, seriously. Like, yeah, let's do it. And it was like literally that simple. It sounds super anticlimactic, but it was like, do you want to do a podcast? I'm listening to this shit. I told him very short stories. Like, yeah, it sounds good. I've been thinking about it for 3 months. I remember it was like 3 months. Like, okay, sweet. Should we talk about it?
And of course, the good fortune is, I mean, you certainly have a bunch of great people. I mean, like we're both friends with. I mean, we mention him almost every episode. We didn't actually mention him in the Chat Virgo one, but our good buddy Dean Somerset. So
we can mention him because he literally canceled on us tomorrow, so we have nothing to release, Dean, just to feel bad. No, it wasn't your fault.
I think we should make this a running joke. We should make sure we mention him in every episode that we ever do, just like find the excuse. I think that should be really funny, and I know he'd actually think it's funny. He wouldn't
I drive by Dean's house every night just to see if he's home, just to see if his lights on. He's usually there. He has an office in the front window, so I can see him when I drive for there.
He's gonna listen to this and be like, "Yeah, guys, I'm sorry, I won't be doing any more episodes with you."
You know what we should do? We should go by his house and be like, "Are you really sick? Do you really want to do our podcast tomorrow?" And he's gonna be like dancing, and be like, "You're not that sick, Dean. You could have did our podcast. You let us hanging. No. You left us hanging."
How about no? And how about we don't even say that we did on that one?
Okay,
we've got some really cool people. Like you know, you are friends with Brian Carroll. The goal is to have him on in the near future. We got Mark Fisher on. We got a whole bunch of really fucking spectacular people. So between the two of us, we actually know a ton of really cool people. So it gave us a resource to reach out to a lot of awesome people, share with you guys who are listening.
One of these things where I don't think people realize is the back end work that goes into it. I do a lot of the tech stuff, blah, 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 blah. It's easy to me. But Andrew does a lot of the scripts. But Andrew is also, I call Andrew the pit bull to everyone else I talk to about around the podcast, because literally a very good skill to have is he's almost fearless in his attempt to reach out to people to get them on the podcast. So without that, I don't think I would have normally, under any circumstances, asked Mike Isertel to be on the podcast, asked Mark Fisher to be on the podcast, but he just, I sent them an email, or I sent them a message, and they're coming on. I'm like, what?
We sat down and had dinner with Mike, and I asked him, and you're like,
I was scared, man.
Like, I'll do it tomorrow.
Well, that was an opening moment where I realized, okay, like a lot of these fitness people that we've looked up to are just normal dudes like us. And he was like, the story was, Andrew was like, Andrew, I don't know if you were nervous about it, but you were like super like, you know what, Mike?
Nope.
We're going to build up this podcast to like something that we're like, would be respectable and people can listen to it. And like, when that happens, I want to make sure that I reach out to you and that you do your podcast. And Mike's like, he like literally was like, shut up, motherfucker. I'll do your fucking podcast. What are you talking about? Build it up. Like, I'll do it tomorrow. Like, you need to do it. And we're like, what?
What I said to him was, and no, not at all nervous. This sort of shit, not even afraid of it. I said to him, we've got work to do, and we have to earn it.
Yeah, but, that's what it was. Earn it.
We'd love it if in the future he would do the podcast. He's like, earn it. Fuck that. He's like, I'll do it tomorrow.
Yeah, so, and he's like, listen, man, I'll set you up with anyone in RP you need to, and who knows if he's actually not lying, but Mike's a pretty honest dude, but he's just like, he was so open about it.
He's straight up.
And we're like looking at this dude like, what? But like, Mike is the coolest dude ever. But to me, Mike is like this industry leader who's like,
God.
I did the math. He's like a multi-millionaire. He's like, no, man, I'm cool. He's like sitting in his wife beater at a nice restaurant. Like, what an idiot. But but yeah, he's like, yeah, I'll do it. I'm coming on. And then sure as shit, we send him a message. He comes on and it was just like, hey, this shit ain't that hard, I guess. And then that's kind of where it went off since then. And just like bang, 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 person after person. It's like, okay, sweet. We can talk to sweet people and get their message out, get our message out to our audience. And then this thing's growing crazy.
And it's funny. I'll transition to the next point we're going to talk about, like rubbing shoulders with this community of extraordinarily successful fitness industry people. It's great. It's fun. It's a really great resource. But what we've also been doing is we started a mentorship group for a lot of newer, younger trainers in the industry. And a lot of our more established friends joined in and they want to be a part of it. So what we sort of have around us is a community of people who are not in dissimilar places from where we are in terms of our career longevity or success and where we are, who aren't, again, rubbing shoulders with the guys who have been doing it for a decade and a half and are really, really successful. But what we've sort of done is we're pushing each other, challenging each other to be more successful. We've definitely made a concerted effort to get out more consistently on social media. Building a following is a critical thing for us because if you have more people who know who you are and are following what you're doing, that means potentially more business and more revenue long term, which is great, but more influence, more reach, and we can impact more people with the stuff that we love to do anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, if you have literally 5 clients, no social media presence, you're not really changing the world. Whereas, some of our friends and contacts who, just a few people who've done the episode, So Healy, my sweet mother of God, this woman is doing profound things in the industry, and she's got mainstream appeal, and she's getting people to have a much healthier relationship with their nutrition and their lifestyle. You got Dr. Mike Israel, who is doing profoundly successful things in the industry. Mark Fisher is doing profoundly successful things. And because they're out there and a lot of people know who they are, their brilliant ideas and contributions to our industry are changing and improving a lot of lives.
They get heard, basically.
And I don't care about fame. I'm not remotely interested in fame. And I'm very, very happy. I love money, but I don't worship it. I don't think about money in terms of the ultimate goal and everything. But it'd be nice to have enough money to have a very comfortable life and be able to do some cool shit to help other people with that money. We have this fucked up culture where people demonize money and success now, and you have this culture of, here's some Andy Frisella for you, the motherfucking CEO podcast. This guy talks about this shit. We have this culture of kids that were brought up on participation trophies and all this shit, and then they get smacked in the face of the real world when they get out of high school. And we have this culture that devalues financial success, professional success. And I don't know what the fuck happened where going out there and working very, very hard and applying ideas and being entrepreneurial and going and earning a lot of goddamn money, so you're paying a lot of taxes to support our society, and able to give to charities and do cool things. When did this become a bad thing?
Well, I look at it as like I look at it like, obviously I need to live and keep my lifestyle, but it's the freedom to have the choice to make choices. You know what I mean? To be able to give to charity or to start this business that's going to help people, or to just go spend it all. Like, I want the opportunity to figure out what I want to do and then be able to fucking do it. And without money, a lot of those choices are narrowed down, and that might be fine for some people, but I would like to have more choices personally.
And having those choices is great. Like, I look at, like some of the year in review. Let's talk about kind of the stuff that I've been able to celebrate this year. A couple days ago was the 2-year anniversary of me buying my home. Yeah. And my home it's a duplex, a very, very fucking beautiful duplex, and not cheap in Edmonton, but it's my home. I love it. Me and my cat, Ozzy. Anyone doesn't know, he's been chilling out with me this whole time.
You do have a nice cat. I don't like, generally, I like cats, but like, you have a very nice, friendly cat. Like, which I'll test to you, raising him very well.
Oh, he's an ass. He bites me, but he knows that I'm the person he's allowed to bite. He doesn't bite strangers. He just stares at them sometimes. I got this really, really great place. I walk into it. I've got clients who have multi-million-dollar homes that I've been in, and I've got unbelievable, or various homes I visited in the city. And I walk back into my home every night, and I'm like, I really am grateful for this. I love this. This is perfect for me. I just, in September, bought a brand new Jeep Grand Chronicke, which my vehicle had been 11 years old, and it was nice enough, but it needed some work. It wasn't reliable, so you got
a very nice Jeep. I'll give you that.
I love that thing. And, it's something I take pride in, and I worked very, very hard to earn it. I'm sitting down enjoying a bottle of, not an entire bottle, but I'm having a couple glasses of Old Bond 14, and that's not
we're on the phone before this shit, and we're like talking about like, hey, like, this is not totally off the cuff, but pretty much I was like, send me the show notes, and I didn't even look at them. But I was like, oh, like, what are we going to talk about? Oh, I'll probably talk about this and this and this. He's like, oh, sweet, I can have some scotch with this. I was like, yeah, I guess I'm just going to call you. You could definitely have scotch. I don't have any scotch. This
is something that my grandfather, when I grew up, my grandfather was a successful doctor, prominent doctor in Newfoundland, and God rest his soul, wonderful man. He's a sarcastic old Irish doctor. And he always had a crystal glass of scotch in his hand when we were around him.
So is that the reason?
I suppose it's become sort of an affectation where it's something that reminds me of it. I love scotch. I'll sit down and drink, as long as it's Highland, like that Islay stuff, but the really peaty, smoky stuff. That stuff's terrible. But you get a smooth Highland scotch, and this stuff is really amazing. Like, I absolutely, positively love it. But I think also I enjoy the experience because it's something that I equate with success. And it's also a reminder of, my family heritage and some successful stuff there. And, some very fond memories of growing up. So, for whatever reasons, it's something I've adopted, and I really love it.
See, the only thing I use that is like that is coffee. I like really good coffee. Does that count? No?
I mean, here's the thing: your coffee drinkers, like we're Jay Ashman giving me shit for drinking like Starbucks French roast or whatever. And when I go down to Kansas City in May, we'll hang out and
coffee.
I hope he's listening. So, and then he'll mumble some swearing at us or whatever in his indecipherable fucking Southern accent, which is great. Love you, Jay. We'll have to tell him to listen to this one. We mentioned, but yeah, like I think coffee connoisseurs will look at coffee one way, and then anybody who's a really appreciator of fine Scotch will. Right? And again, like to say it truly, it's whiskey. I mean, saying Scotch is pretentious whiskey, but.
And I like bourbon. Like, so I don't know what it is. Maybe my taste buds haven't figured it out, but I don't love Scotch. I like bourbon. So I don't know. Like, weirdly enough, on the rocks, I would prefer bourbon over whiskey.
I got to try some bourbon. So, and then of course I mentioned Kansas City. So, and I talk about this fairly frequently. So this year I got to go to 2 fitness conferences, one in May in Kansas City, which really was a game changer for me. I met a ton of really incredible people. Several of our guests, awesome people like Jay Ashman and Kevin Coffey.
You literally networked the shit out of that and got a lot of our podcast guests without knowing you were going to do that initially, because that was way before.
It wasn't deliberate. I just jumped in there, and first person I met was my buddy Johnny T, who we'll have him on the podcast eventually. And just one thing led to another, and I look around like, oh, there's fucking Nick Tuminello, and oh shit, that's Jen Sinkler, and then just it steamrolled from there. And by the end of the weekend, I knew everybody, which was really cool. And that's a beautiful event. So I'm going back in May, and I'm going to try to drag several of our friends, and hopefully you can go. But then I saw this really cool event in Seattle at Luca Hocevar's Vigor Ground Summit in Renton, just outside of Seattle. And so I went down to that, and that was really fucking cool. That was a different thing. That was a definitely more salesy. It was definitely a different focus, but it was a really cool opportunity. Definitely networked, which I value. I met a lot of really amazing people, like industry people. Like Adam Bornstein was there, Brett Bartholomew, who we mentioned earlier. Luca's incredible. And reacquainted with guys like Pete Dupuis and Mark Fisher, who I consider friends because these two guys are fucking unbelievable people. And they're two of the owners and managers of two of the most successful gyms on the East Coast of the United States. Kresge Sports Performance in Pete Dupuis' case, and Mark Fisher Fitness, which is self-explanatory. So yeah, it was cool, and I met a lot of the people going there. And it was just a privilege to be able to have the resources to travel these type of events. And so I got a lot of new industry friends and connections. And it opened my eyes to so much stuff.
Well, and one of the things I was going to say is that even when we talk to some of these people, and the more and more people I meet, even locally, is that that big persona that you see when you think they're larger than life is that, and I've kind of alluded to this before, is that they're all normal people. Like, they all literally come from very similar backgrounds to all of us, because they kind of end up in this industry and be successful in it. We all have very similar, upbringings in it, if you know what I mean. Like, we're all rooted in the same things and the same interests. And I think you realize that when you meet these people, you have a lot in common, and they're not as crazy or built up as you kind of thought they were. They're not up on a pedestal. They're like right at your level, and you can interact with them, and it puts a different light on them.
The vast majority are extraordinarily awesome, down-to-earth, normal people. Yeah. Like you mentioned, Mike Isertel, he's doing extraordinarily financially well. Mike, we hit it off with him. Like, I don't throw the word friend around loosely, but like, Mike's a friend, and he's just a fun, awesome, down-to-earth guy. Hangs up his pajamas at home and does most of his work that way.
We didn't have the video on that, but dude's in his pajamas, like, doing the podcast that we misscheduled that we thought was at night. He's like, or we thought was in the morning. It was actually at night. He's like, oh, I'll just fucking do this right now. Like, really? And he's like in his pajamas, and we did this podcast. He's like, I might have to leave to play with my dog, but like, we can do this. It was just like, okay, sweet.
Anyone listening to this, if you haven't heard the Mike Isertel episode, 2 things. One is he's the smartest man in the industry when it comes to,
I think, easily
research-based information on muscle building.
He's a brilliant meathead.
Brilliant meathead. Yeah. And there is no one even close to as funny as Mike Isertel. It is our funniest episode. We've got some funny people.
He still has to do a stand-up. He's like Joe Rogan to me. Like, he could literally, I bet off the cuff, he could like do a stand-up. I don't think he knows that, but it's probably not going to get him much money, and he's probably not his interest, but he should do it. I think I would pay to see it. Easily.
I'd pay to see it too. I mean, fuck, he flew into L2. So let's hit on this so that people know this stuff. L2, your gym, last year had the L2 Fitness Summit, the first annual, and we had Dean Somerset and Mike Isertel presented. Each had a whole day.
Badass lineup for like
holy
Edmonton.
Shit, right? And these guys actually there's a video product which you can find on Dean Somerset social media, on Mike Israel social media.
L2 too, I believe. It's on our website.
L2s. Yeah, so it's everywhere. And the entire video recording of the 2-day event, and you can buy it, which is pretty fucking amazing. We got to see it live, which is even better. And then we got to go to dinner with them afterwards. So fuck you guys.
Yeah. That was everyone awesome. Else who didn't pay for it. Now, and honestly, I think we could have sold more. I don't think people realize the opportunity they had in that.
Next year, I'm going to drag way more people to it. So next year, this coming September, I think it's
we can't say anything. We can't say anything.
We can't say who.
Okay, that's true.
But we can't say who. But we've got 4 very, very successful, big name industry people.
Very big.
Who, they're huge. And hold on, I bet 3 out of 4 in person, hung out with them. They're fucking incredible.
Man, shut up now. Okay, nothing. It's going to be awesome.
No one will know.
Man, you've listed everyone. If they want to listen to our podcast, that you've listed people. So there's a good list of 20 that they can dominate.
I've met a million of these people. So anyway, who's going to fucking guess this shit? Landon's going to be like, Andrew, shut up.
Yeah.
He'll be fine.
Landon would have guessed it. For sure.
Because Landon's the one who got them all.
Landon probably wrote down all the people. If he wanted to figure out, he could write down all the people. Landon's very smart too, one of the way.
He's the only one who would figure it out. Anyway, irrelevant. Yeah. Point being is 4 really awesome people. We're going to do it all again next year, and I'm going to drag a shit ton of people to it. So that's going to be really, really super. So if you're a trainer in the Edmonton area, you're going to want to keep an eye on this. And when it's officially announced, you're going to squeal like a little girl because you're going to be excited to find this is coming.
With that, honestly, we're coming up on an hour, man. I think that, did you have any, you know what, I'm going to end this because I think that knowing that we did this, we didn't even hit some of the points that we were going to talk about. We kind of hit some of it. But I think that we could do more of this because this was really easy and we didn't do anything. It was just off the cuff. Andrew's like, "Did you read the script?" I'm like, "No, I was fucking working all day. I didn't even look at it once because I was stressed out that the fucking podcast didn't work." But what book are you reading right now? And tell us a little bit about that. I don't know if I got the question right, but
he flipped my question on me. Every podcast I ask people about books.
Yeah, I fucking got it.
So I am currently reading 3 books. One is I listen to audiobooks and I go through them very, very quickly. So I'm listening to a book called Tribes by an author named Seth Godin, who's one of my favorites. It's really just a book about modern ideas about leadership and the unconventional but new dynamic of leadership versus management, where now the internet especially is a very powerful tool where you can create a group of like-minded people and you can position yourself as a leader amongst those people and have a great deal of influence. So without going further in that, it's just really cool. It's definitely something that fitness professionals would probably benefit from who are trying to reach more people, create more influence, and create a dynamic community around themselves.
Yeah.
The second book I'm reading is a fantasy fiction novel that is my true favorite. It's the first book of the Millennium trilogy called Diamond Throne by David Eddings. It's one of my true favorites. So if you're a George R.R. Martin fan who likes The Wheel of Time,
Game of Thrones.
What? Then, Eddings is not dissimilar with Hobbit and Lord of the Rings, or Wheel of Time by Robert Jordan, which is it's a nom de plume for some other name. If you like this sort of stuff, Eddings' work is fine. That's fantasy fiction. No one gives a shit about that. It's just a guilty pleasure. And I said I'm taking a break from all this other shit, and then I'm actually reading a book called Anti-Fragile by Nassim Nicholas Taleb, who is an arrogant, blowhard, self-important, obnoxious, pompous ass, but he's just one of the most complicated writers I've ever read. There's a lot of really great ideas in this book. It's about being resilient against a lot of the shit that goes on in the world that makes you very fragile to unexpected events. So I'll give you a quick example. You have the person who has the office job, secure salary, pension, all that sort of stuff. You feel very, very safe. Whereas, I use the example in the book, and then there's his brother who's a taxi driver who doesn't know where his next cab fare comes from, who's always worried. The truth is, the illusion of security within the job you possess is very much an illusion. You could be let go, you could be laid off, or God forbid, fired at any time, and then you're fucked. Quite frankly, you're totally fucked. then you're scrambling. Your security is an illusion. Whereas the taxi driver who is, and we're trainers, we're like this with clients, it can be unpredictable. I mean, tomorrow, all of my clients could walk in and say, hey, I'm done in the very near future and I'm scrambling. But
a comet could come through Evolve and blow the whole place up.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. And I could take my business to a city gym or somewhere else. I'm a resilient. So this is a book about resiliency against the stuff that could happen. Yeah. But that taxi driver or us as a trainer, let's say a client says to me tomorrow, hey, I'm not going to be continuing past next week. Okay, well, then I have the ability to work a little harder to generate some more referrals or fill up my schedule where I cannot in one swoop be removed from my livelihood. Does that make sense? Whereas someone who is terminated from a job for a big company, salary position can very much be denied their security very, very quickly and rapidly. And this sort of thing nearly happened to me with the old company. Through no fault of my own. I mean, again, I don't play well with others, and there's definitely stuff I did to contribute to the escalating situation.
Well, that's that whole Maslow's triangle bullshit with security being one of them. If your whole security is lined up in your job, like your one job, and there's nothing outside of that, like that's a pretty fucking weak building block, I guess you could say.
Yeah. So bottom line is, I mean, this book is not for the faint of heart by any stretch of the imagination. But the underlying idea is quite profound, and it gets into some really intellectual shit, so I've been a little bit slow going through it, hence the other books.
Yeah.
But at the very least, I'm reading it. So
I think I was like one book, and you gave me 3, man, and you're reading 3 books, and you're that busy at work. You're crazy, man.
That is what it is. Here's what I do. I listen to podcasts or audiobooks when I am cooking, when I am driving, when I am doing like regular, everyday, mundane shit that I got to do anyway.
Yeah.
So I'm not taking up any of my.
You're being efficient with your time.
Extremely, yeah. I'm layering things together so that way the effort to at least listen to all the audio stuff takes no time away from napping on the couch and I don't watch television very often. I really, truly don't. Like I said, I was poking The Expanse earlier, but taking forever to get through that. Or time with friends or even my work stuff. It's just the stuff that I'm already going to do anyway. So therefore, let's add some audio and education to it. And again, like I said, that's how I listen to podcasts. I like to consume.
I do that driving.
Tons of,
like 20 minutes on each end. And if I go home in between, if I have a big enough break, is like that's potentially up to like an hour of podcast. That's one big one a day.
Yeah. And anyone who is not sedentary and works from home, guess what? If you're driving or you're on a bus or something, and you can plug, you download your podcast episodes or your audiobook, you hook it into your Bluetooth because virtually everything is Bluetooth now, or put it in your headphones or whatever the fuck it is, and listen to it and enjoy this stuff, because this goes to a basic principle I believe in, that every day you should devote a little bit of time and effort into self-education, self-development.
Agreed.
Because maybe right now you're sitting here listening to this because you're a fitness enthusiast, but you're in a job that you're not passionate about. You don't love it. But what you could be doing is you could be using the extra time to acquire skills and knowledge that maybe you could apply to something that you're really passionate about later on. I mean, where I am right now with my fitness career did not start the first day I stepped into the gym to work. It started with a lot of stuff I learned prior to that had the staff at that gym relentlessly poke at me on the floor saying, hey, you should come work with us. That's how that all started, like 7 years ago. What are you reading, Dean?
Well, I guess I'll tell you a book. I'm eating. You
want to go to bed?
I'm not eating. My brain. I'm eating. I'm actually reading a book called Never Eat Alone, which is just, I don't even know. I'm not like you. I don't remember all the authors' names, but it's one of the biggest networkers of all time. I guess he's been a CEO of like 4 different companies. And anyways, long story short, it's about networking and how to build your network, how to reach out to people, kind of all the shit we've talked about and how we built this podcast. But it kind of gives you strategies on how to go to seminars or conferences and how to kind of just increase that spider web of people that you know, and then not necessarily get things from them, but be a facilitator or help or receive, and how to kind of navigate those fields. And it's just basically, I think, as I haven't even read the whole thing, but it's a must read for someone who is going to be in an industry where you have to connect with people to be successful. And that's it. I don't have any deeper meaning of it other than it's been awesome. I pulled a lot out of it, but I've also kind of attached a few things that I've kind of done to be successful. And I guess I intuitively did it, and it kind of just highlights some of the things that I've done to why I'm so successful or have been successful. And I'm just going to kind of do more of that because of it. So it's kind of cool. It's good because it's directly impactful on what I'm doing and kind of what we're doing as a greater whole right now with our group, our trainer group, and with trying to get more attention. It's just going to be a great asset.
Well, it's on my wish list of books I'm going to download.
It's easy read too. It's really easy it's easy.
I'm going to bump it to the top of the list. It's by Keith Ferrazzi and Hal Raz.
And I don't know exactly his background, but he basically well, I do know his background, but he became CEO, and then he became CEO of a bunch of companies. But he's basically a blue collar guy that became super white collar, but just figured out a knack for networking. And he basically just took a different approach to it than other people. Like, for instance, he would get his executive assistant to put up one-page profiles based on LinkedIn and all these other things of all these people at the conference that he needs to meet. And he would study them and then go meet these people, and he'd have information that he could connect with. So he took conferences and meetings to like a whole different level in terms of he was using them to increase his network and not be that guy that just kind of doesn't have anything to say or doesn't want to make contact with people. And he kind of reached out and found people. And I wouldn't say he attacked them, but he didn't go in there blind and stupid. So he had a mission and he would accomplish it. And it's kind of a cool way of thinking of it, because that's half the battle with it. Is like, do you want to be that wallflower who doesn't get anything done at these conferences? Or do you want to be like you, who met, let's just say 20 people, and now that 20 people has increased your opportunity by like tenfold from one conference? So you can monetize that value in a $300 conference now has earned you, let's say, $20,000 extra. Like, that's a huge investment that people don't think. They think they go to conferences to learn and listen to speakers, when really it's the networking that's the huge thing of it. So anyways, that's my story.
And I don't think I quite understood that. Talk about the conferences I went to earlier when I first went down to the Kansas City one, but the value has been there more than anything else.
Yeah.
Some of the specifics of the presentations are a little lost, a little muddy. I took a lot away from it, to be honest, but just the relationships that I have fostered from this. I have great friends that I've met in these situations, and there's a lot of really cool stuff that's come from it, and it's going to pay major dividends in the long run. So,
right.
Yeah.
Listen.
I love the idea of the book.
Listening to some, basically he alluded, he's like, not that you can't learn anything, but you got a 20-minute or a 40-minute presentation. How much are you going to really learn when that's like a little piece of the puzzle in terms of, maybe it's a little inspirational, it'll help you out, but like those conferences aren't necessarily about the people speaking. They can be, but it's mostly about like, what can you get out of it in terms of your network? And that could be anything. That could grow your business. That could grow, favors to like whatever, right? Like, it's just how you use that is up to you, but use them to their advantage, because you're paying to be there. Why just be a spectator, essentially?
Absolutely.
That's a small part of the book, but
we are short on time, my friends.
This is going to be the longest one. So we basically rambled and talked for an hour and 12 minutes. Do you want to do the review us? If you've actually listened to it this far and you've actually listened to this shit, great. What you should do is go over to our Facebook page. Yeah, we love you, but you should love us and like our Facebook page. You should go rate us on iTunes. I think iTunes is the biggest thing for the algorithm, is that gets us in front of people. You know what? Throw us a pity 5-star. You know what? If you really want to throw pity, give us a good review in terms of getting on your keyboard and writing shit down. You can also, I learned based on that CEO podcast, that you can actually go to the update on the iPhone and you can go right into the music app and review it right from there. So
that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Guys, we really appreciate all of the support to this point. Anyone who's listening to this part right now knows
I would have turned it off, by the way.
We know that you've been really loyal to us, and we really appreciate it. We have a lot more really cool stuff coming up. We have a lot of really great guests. We're going to pump these out 1 to 2 a week as we're able to. We've got a lot of cool people lined up over the holiday season and in January, some big names. Not going to tell you who just yet. But the way that you can help us the most, like Dean said, one is a 5-star review on iTunes is great. But also share one particular episode you love with someone that you know who you think would really enjoy that episode. Be it, Mike Isatel's knowledge and muscle building and his comedy, or Kelly Coffey getting into a lot of the stuff about self-sabotage and a lot of battles that a lot of people face, or Soheili's episode about finding moderate behavior within an industry that preaches extremism, or so many other episodes. So just try your personal favorite, share with someone. It helps us a ton. We really appreciate it. So you guys have an amazing night. Thanks for hanging out with us in an hour bullshit episode tonight.
Yeah, fuck. And it's going to be released in 31 minutes. Peace.
Peace out.
Shut up and sit down.